I'm doing the sneaker design thing. Just started recording.
Okay.
But yeah, let's keep on talking, man. Like you know, even if you need to pick my brain, I pick yours, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Um, sure. Yeah, 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 that's definitely me looking at that. Definitely. No, that yeah, man, for real. For real. All right, man. This thing is recording, so I might have to hit you that later. All right, for sure. Bye.
Oh, let's go. Jeff. What up, cousin? What up, baby? This got really weird for everybody else, so I apologize in advance. Apologize for everybody else. It's just a little clubhouse love. Ain't no thing. Ain't no thing.
What's going on? What's going on?
Jeff like, damn, y'all got me. All right, all right, all right.
What's happening? How you doing? How you doing, Kelsey? Folks who haven't met. Giancarlo.
So,
Hey,
I'm hyped and I'm ready. So if we can do this, bro, I'm there with you.
Hey, okay, he's ready.
Ready.
Joe, you got him juiced. You hear this? See this energy? You know what I'm saying?
Love it. Love it.
Okay, got her too. Oh, okay, let's go. We flexing. Everybody flexing.
We'll wait a couple more minutes. I know folks will be coming in here. And then Cassandra, how you doing?
Oh, it's gonna be that's so many topic. I thought you meant it was gonna be on Zoom. I was like, wait, how you doing? Tajay is coming towards the end of June.
All right, we're at time. I don't know, Joey, if you have given folks a couple minutes to join, or folks just join, just to get caught up as they are joining on. But I will hand it off to you.
Cool. Yeah, so I'm gonna kind of go. I have a really short presentation, but most of it's gonna be in VR today. I'm just kind of gonna go back over those the steps of the footwear design process, and then showing where I have like an example, a shoe that I worked on with Gravity Sketch actually, that we used VR and Gravity Sketch at every phase of the process to kind of see where it can help or where it might not be so helpful. And that all kind of changes depending on the project. But I'm going to go through that real quick just as an example before we go into VR. So you'll see where those different phases in real life are happening, like the example in real life versus this little very sped up version of that process, like kind of the highlights of that process. Cool. Jeff, I don't know if you want me to, if there's any more people popping in, maybe still wait a little bit before I get going.
Yeah, maybe just like a minute or two.
Gotcha. Cool. Sounds good. Yeah, and then I think at some point, I know some people have their headsets with them. And at some point, I think we can maybe have, I know that the room's limited to how many people can be in it in Gravity Sketch, but we can maybe have a couple people or maybe just one person pop in and mess around with it or try stuff and do like because today I'm gonna go over like kind of setting up the workspace and the workflow and just the different tools that I use. There's a lot that I don't use because I've kind of narrowed down my process to what I've got comfortable with and what works for me. But so we'll go over that and then just like creating the wireframe of the actual like design of the shoe. It's kind of like the 3D sketch, like the actual version of like what feels like sketching in 3D versus modeling. Cool.
Yeah, you're good now.
We're good to go. Awesome.
Yep.
Sweet. Let me share my screen. And then go to slideshow. Cool. All right. So yeah, like I said, for day 2, we're going to go into Gravity Sketch, going to show you guys the setup and the workflow. Again, all this stuff kind of changes per how you feel comfortable using it and what works for you and what's needed for different projects. But this is just kind of the basic fundamentals of this process. So Gravity Sketch, as you all know, is the 3D software that I use in VR and what most footwear designers use in VR. And these are just some images to kind of show like they're edits, obviously, but just to kind of show you what that looks like when you're working at these different phases, just you pulling in your references, using wireframes, and then actually starting to model the design. So that's just an example of that. And so what this really is just helping me visualize my ideas from 2D into 3D because using 3D, if you can do it well, it helps communicate your ideas much easier because it is it's a 3-dimensional product, and it just kind of makes more sense to communicate that way. So again, from last week's class, we did went really kind of deep dive into all these different phases of the design process. So just listing these here to remind you of those that we kind of covered, and these next slides will show you where Gravity Sketch will fit in and what we're going to be covering today in the session. That'll be mostly in that like ideation, problem solving type of phase that we'll be covering today. So how I used Gravity Sketch to make this shoe. These were like some of the early hand-drawn sketches, some pen and paper, some on the iPad, and then on the right is a mixture of those. Was kind of translating those ideas to Gravity Sketch, and that idea of sketching in 3D and ideating. It gives you a better idea of exploring forms in a 3-dimensional space. As I've said, the sketch, like the sketch that you see on the bottom left, you don't know exactly how that you might look cool or look good from this view, but you don't know what it's going to look like from the top, the sides, all that kind of stuff, and how it's going to translate to real life. And so that's where sketching in 3D really kind of comes into play here. And then another phase that it's really important at is the prototyping phase. 3D printing is mostly used in the footwear industry pretty universally now for making quick prototypes of molded parts and like soles before opening a really expensive mold and making that type of commitment. And that's so when you're exploring all these shapes and forms in 3D versus a sketch, you're able to if you model them correctly, they're able to be printed and you can have quick prototypes. If you're working at a brand, you usually have some sort of printer or lab that can make these things for you pretty much overnight or over the next couple of days. And that's, again, the part where you start testing your ideas. You start figuring out how it looks like in real life. Are the proportions good? Did you try to design some sort of cage structure that provides support for the shoe, and trying to see if that feels good on foot and if it's going to do the job that you designed it for. And that's where you'd make adjustments before making the final. And then this was the kind of the game changer that we found when we made this shoe. This is it's a screenshot of the Gravity Sketch file that we actually sent to the factory. So it was a 3D tech pack, as opposed to last week when I was showing you all those technical drawings of the orthographic views, you know, the side view, the top view, bottom, every single angle of the shoe and the material maps and all that, kind of condensed that all into one space in 3D. And the factory was able to kind of have a bit more interactive experience of the tech pack and get a closer up under the details of the shoe. And not only that, having exact 3D model references as they build out their own molds, as opposed to translating those blueprint drawings that we kind of showed from last time. And then the sampling, again, the sample from the Reebok thing that I showed you guys last time, it's kind of like a messy sample. The colors are off. The materials are mostly, you know, correct, or at least in the early phase. You get this this like pullover sample, which is usually just kind of from whatever convenient materials are there. But the sample on the right is the first sample we got directly. I can't switch sides. Okay, there we go. So these were like the 3D files that we sent them, and that was the shoe we got. So it was pretty accurate to what we wanted and what we got back. And you know, the quality was, it had a bit more finished look than a lot more first samples that I had got. So let's see. And then this is just a quick screen grab again of that. It's kind of hard to capture it when it's just screenshots because it's not as immersive. But this was like a live revision session that we had with the factory. We were able to make edits on the model instead of edits to the you know, the blueprint drawings like you normally would, and then waiting, you know, a week or two to get the revisions back in a new updated sample. We kind of had all these this like conversation in VR with the factory while they were in Portugal. I was in Boston at the time, and you know, able to work basically in the same, like, you know, room together, which is pretty cool. Cool. So that was just a quick recap of showing like the in real life version of where this could all apply, just to give you guys some more context. And then we're going to go into VR. I'm going to stop sharing this for a second until I get this set up. So let me. Okay, yeah, I just got to go to the stream. Yeah, look at the steps to see where the casting is. Okay. Just a second, almost there. All right. Okay, so I am casting, and then let me share my screen real quick, and then you should be able to. Just a second. All right. All right, you guys can see the streaming, right? It's all working.
Yeah, looks good.
Cool. Now I'm gonna go full screen so you can see it better. Awesome. Sweet. Glad that worked out. Perfect. And then I'm also going to, oh, I can't record while I stream. Interesting. All right. Well, we have the recording here anyway. So I'm going to go into the collab room and just go over some of the workflow. I kind of pre-built some of this this stuff out just so we can have, you know, things to jump ahead to if we need to. But in this like quick tutorial, I'm going to show you like wireframing and designing a shoe around a last and using just a Jordan 1 as an example, just to keep it, you know, pretty simple shoe construction and design. Didn't want to get too complicated with anything. Yeah, so I'll kind of show you around like the what you're seeing here in my hand is like this. You kind of have these two main menus. You have like the tools, which is this button, this purple button here, and that's where you have like, you know, the different ink stroke. Oh wait, yeah, here we go. So you have like, the thing where you can just sketch and make, whatever, lines and stuff like that. And then there's just different versions of that same tool. There's a bunch of different lines, a bunch of different ways you can make surfaces and planes. You can do this and really make, whatever shapes you kind of want like that. And these are some of the looser tools that I don't really use, but it's fun to, when you're first starting it out, getting used to like working. Let's make it brighter color so you can see this better too. Yeah, so you can see that it's a little bit easier to see. And then, there's just a bunch of different shapes here. I don't really need to go through all this stuff. This is stuff I think would be good for you guys to kind of, be able to just explore in your own. You can start off with the sphere and just, mess around with the shapes and the proportions of all these things. But yeah, I kind of just want to show you guys all that just to get an idea of, what you can do, all the tools you can explore later. There's a bunch of different stuff. This used to be a very simple workflow with not many tools, but now there's a lot of different shapes you can start out with. And then the other menu you have is this in the left hand is this this blue button right here. That's like the main menu. So you have, all the settings of the environment. This stuff is kind of gets a little too detailed. The like standard stuff is you'll kind of get your own preferences of the environment that you work in and like the lighting and all that, but it's pretty basic how you can kind of start off. You can set up this thing that's a mirror tool that we're going to use a lot. You can see there's like this plane here now, and anything I create now is going to be mirrored on the other side. So that's where that'll come in handy as, a shoe. It's not a mirrored thing, as you'll see here. It's asymmetrical because the foot is not a symmetrical part, but it helps to build it out in that symmetrical way. So, as you're building this side of the shoe, it's creating that over there. We can go back and adjust those points later on. Let's see, anything else to cover? This is where you save, where you can import things. There's a bunch of like 3D assets built in here, and for footwear specifically, there's some pre-built models that you can even grab. I think you can just grab them and just pull them into your space, and now you have like this thing that someone pre-built, and just you can use that as a practice thing if you want to. So there's there's a bunch of different things. There's last, like I was talking about, the form of the foot that's gonna dictate the shoe. Like I said, there's so many different types of last, like athletic ones, there's dress ones, there's boots, there's high heels, all sorts of things. So bunch of things like that you can pull around with. And then this one's one that you'll probably will come in handy is the layers. It's kind of like in Illustrator or in Photoshop where you have your different layers, and you can see as I hover over them, it highlights the different parts of what's on each layer. It helps you stay organized so you can hide things. Like if I want to, get rid of the last, I don't need it anymore, and I can just build with this wireframe. I had all those images in earlier before, but now maybe I don't need those as references. You can show and hide those things. So that's just kind of an idea of the setup that you're kind of working with. And then I guess just to show you, since you can see my hands and what I'm showing you in here, this trigger button on your right hand is basically how you do everything. Like as you hold it down, that's how you start making something. Whatever tool you have, that's how you basically get started. So it's this button here. And then to even do things like if you want to grab something, you have this little like orb in your hand, and you can see it highlights when I touch something, when it's highlighted. And then if I pull this, it's like where your middle finger sits on this trigger here. That's how you can like grab things and move it around. And then obviously I don't want to do that, so I can hit this red button in my right hand. It's like it's just the undo button, so you can just go back to normal. And these are things that you'll get used to the workflow. Like once I start modeling this, I'll kind of get into a zone where I don't even think about all these buttons and things. After a couple weeks of just messing around with doing this and making doodles and grabbing things, making duplicates of things, you can grab something and then hit this and it basically makes a bunch of copies. So you can just keep making, a million copies of something if you need it. All those kind of things you'll get used to as we go. One last little tool like trick that I'll show before I go into actually modeling this is you can like move things and keep them on an axis. So when you align your controllers like this, like literally behind each other, it kind of creates like an axis that you'll pull these on. So let's say I wanted to make like duplicate all these things, like this last, I wanted to start a new version of it over here. I can grab it, and then you see this like the green, blue, and red arrows pop up in my hands. That's indicating, see it goes away. It's indicating that I've created this axis that I want to move it on. So I'm gonna do that, grab with the middle finger and then duplicate with the pointer finger, and then I can drag it along this axis. And now I have, another copy of it, and it's only shifted over and not just, floating over here. And now you don't know if it's sitting properly, it's at a wrong angle, it's not on this mirror plane how I wanted it. So that's just a little trick that gets comes in handy. But now I'm going to go into the actual design of this shoe, and I'm going to hide this wireframe a little bit. I'll just keep it just a little bit visible just so I have a reference, so I can do this a little bit faster, so we can have, save as much time as possible. I like to keep my images, like I said, up there just as references. If I ever need to, I can, grab them, pull them closer, make them bigger, all that kind of stuff. And then, but I also created this layer called orthographic, where I like to lock the image to the mirror plane, and I'll kind of show you how that works. It's I can, right now it's kind of floating wherever, and it's not locking the plane like I like it. So I think it's, yeah, so when I'm holding it with, everything that you grab is with the middle finger on your right hand, or your left hand if you're a left-handed person and you change the, reverse the settings on it. So that middle finger with your dominant hand, and then the pointer finger trigger with your other hand will kind of snap it. You can see it snaps to this plane like that. And so now you can have it, perfectly orthographic with the plane that you're using it as a reference on. So I've already kind of moved this into place. You can, so you can see I moved it around and put it so it aligns up with this last nicely. And you can, as you toggle this layer thing here, you can see how it like changes the opacity, so you can still see your reference but hide it a little bit so you can see your drawing a little bit more. So I kind of find the balance of those things, and just so I have all these references I can see at once and nothing's really getting in the way. So I'm going to create a new layer. I just hit this plus button right here, and I'm just going to call it wireframe 2, since I already have one that I pre-built in here. If I can find the numbers, there we go. And so now I'm working on this layer, and I'm just gonna basically start building the shoe. Like I said, I have it mirrored, so anything I build on the right side will show up, or on this side will show up on the other side. And let's see. Okay, so now you have this reference point of this. You have the last that's dictating the shape that it comes out this way, and then you have the orthographic that's telling you how where the line sits parallel to the last. So I'll just kind of start drawing like this and that, and then here, I'll make this a little bit low opacity. There we go. So we can still see on the other side. So now you have this like line, and obviously it's off from the last, but you have these little control points. It's similar to like Adobe Illustrator, where you have like the pen thing, and you have the all those control points that you can move, except it's floating in 3D space. So that's kind of a good way to think about it. And you can just pull these all in and have them sit nicely against the last where it's supposed to. There we go. And then this lined a little too thick and it's probably gonna get in the way, so I'm gonna edit that. And when you're, so right now I can't edit that because the control points are there. I don't have it selected. So what I have to do to select it is, again, hover it with this little orb shape that you have in your hand. And then on the left hand, there's this like paintbrush tool. That'll pull up the edit tools of editing. So while I'm grabbing it, then I'm able to hit the blue button here, and now I have those control points. See when I hold it, that on my left hand, this new button comes up where I have these control points. And so I select that, now I can edit this file. And then all the times on your left hand, you'll have this menu, and that'll directly relate to what you're, selected or not selected here. And so there's a bunch of stuff here you don't need really to mess with too much yet. But I did want to show you this where you can change the size of the stroke and the shape of it, as you need to. Sometimes that comes in handy for like laces and stuff like that. But I just wanted to make it a little bit smaller. So I'm going to pull this down just so it's a little thinner and more of like a pencil line and not so in the way. I'm actually going to bring up this wireframe a little bit more just so I have a cleaner reference so I can build this a little bit faster. So yeah, so that's like where I'm gonna usually start with the sole, the top line right there. I'm gonna duplicate it and bring it down to indicate this line that we have here of that where that stitching line is in the mold in the sole. And that, that's pretty self-explanatory of where that sits. And then I'm gonna duplicate and drag it down again. As you see, I'm pulling it on this blue axis because my controllers are aligned like this. And I'm going to pull it down to the bottom. So I have a nice clean reference of that shape of this sole. The sides of this sole are up directly, vertical up and down for the most part. So it's pretty simple to keep clean there, except for it comes up in the toe here. So I can, pull these up. I'm just aligning these with the purple or the old wireframe that I had from before that I pre-built. So yeah, so that, it looks good. Creating reference points of where this, I'm actually going to model it, and that'll be in the next class. But you can see these are good like reference points of where you can create those surfaces. And then, like I said, it's mirrored, so it's not going to be perfect on this side. But what we can do is this thing bakes, it's called bake mirrored. So basically, I have these control points. I can only affect it on one side and it does the same on both. If I do baked and then I reselect it, now I have control over both sides individually like this. So I'm just going to do this real quick, but I'm going to, pull this in so it fits a little bit more to the natural foot shape of this last. They can come. It's weird. Oh, I'm going to close these images because they're creating shadows. And then same thing with these lines, baking the mirrored, and then going back in to edit it because it's no longer a mirrored thing. I can fully edit both sides of it individually as I need to. Let's see. That's pretty good. And then same thing to this one. And this is something that, you normally wouldn't do this fast. And, a lot of this is you'd be experimenting with the shapes and the forms and really finding what the look you're going for and the shapes you're going for and all that. But like I said, it's pre-built. So now it's a little bit more natural foot shape, right? And then we can go into the upper of the shoe. One of the things I'm not going to really cover in this part, just because it's something I do out of Gravity Sketch, is like the tread patterns of the outsole, just because that's something that's a little bit more complicated to 3D model, but not always necessary when you're, exploring forms like this. That it's just not worth it working in this way because it's just not an efficient way to do that type of thing in this way of 3D modeling. So here I'm going to hide the last a little bit and go back to our, our drawing here. And, you kind of start separating the shoe by parts. Remember from like the when you're taping up the last of the shoe and you're drawing it on, you have all these lines that indicate different parts of the shoe. You have, the heel cap here. You have this piece right here that's kind of acting as reinforcement to the lacing strap and some support on the side. You have this piece, which is the toe cap. You have this right here, which is the eye row. The eye row is where the laces usually sit along, oftentimes in multiple different pieces coming together. And then, you have the collar, the lining, and then the tongue and the lacing. Those are like the main parts you'll find on any shoe, and they're all, designed different depending on the aesthetic and the style of the shoe. I'm gonna clean this up a little bit. Not sure where that got out there. Cool. So now normally I would pull in my last and kind of have it just kind of slightly hidden like that, so you can see it, reference it, and you can know if you're interfering with it. You can kind of see where it interacts with it, but I don't need it that precise yet, so it's just kind of there as a quick reference. But I can start modeling these pieces like the heel. One of the things that when you work in like Illustrator, when you have a ton of control points, it gets hard to make cleaner lines because there's so many different things, telling this line what to do. One thing you can do is when you click on this menu in your left hand, this simplified points, it'll get rid of some of those points and it'll clean it up a little bit. And it gives you like less stuff to work with and makes you have smoother lines. And you can even go in here and select it, hit this minus button in your right hand to delete and get rid of points as well. That's something that'll just come in handy as a designer in general to create better lines. And that translates, like I said, to Illustrator too. And all I'm doing here with these points is, again, to grab anything, whether it's a point or an actual object, this middle finger trigger on your dominant hand, when you have something selected, it turns black or it turns red, and then you can grab it and move it and control it like that. I'm going to build out a few pieces and then we'll go on to the other side and make those adjustments. Let's see. So yeah, now we have this piece, which is usually called the quarter panel of the shoe. It's like on this like middle / back area of the shoe. Sometimes, that piece often changes on different styles of shoes of where it is and how much space it really takes up, but that's the general idea of that part. And then let's see. And I'm also giving it probably a little bit more than I could, but giving it a little bit of tolerance to the actual last shape, because, especially in this area, it's not just and not building it exactly to the last like this, because there's going to be some space in here for the cushion, like foam between the layers. There's not only leather, but multiple layers of leather on top of each other. And then you have the lining on the inside. So you kind of just give it some space for that. So, and it'll also look more natural for your, this 3D model as well. Let's see. Okay. Move on to this lace piece right here. And you're literally just drawing in space. Sometimes it gets, it takes a while to get used to making nice, clean lines really quickly. But that's not always a problem, because you can always just go back and clean them up, as I'm doing right now anyway. But I'm just trying to get this as close to the point as possible. I'm just making it look nice, clean lines, so it indicates smooth edges and not like weird, awkward pinches and shapes like that. Okay. I'm gonna actually go into the other sides of these just before I do too much, and see, it's because it's mirrored, it's not exact. We'll have to go in, bake the mirrored piece, and then come on this side and move this in, pull it into the shape of the last. And actually, for this part, I'll bring in the last just to show you guys better how I'm, bring it in closer relative to the last on this side, as opposed to how it was on the other side. Gonna bake this, also do the same thing. For these next few steps, I'm just repeating the same thing over and over again. Just making it fit the last properly. And then same thing here. And that's again what I'm doing. I'm lining these up, and you can see when that axis point comes up, that means I can move these directly on a line. So I'm not changing where they are in space on one axis, but they're moving it along this red axis here that you can see. But I'm just going to build these again to these points from my reference wireframe. And now you can see it has a bit more natural. It's sitting on the same area of the shoe as this side, but fits it more naturally there. All right, and we'll finish off this toe cap right there. And again, if you guys try your own shoes, you don't have to, you can pull in any shoe that you want that you like, and you'll realize all these shoes have different parts and different shapes to these parts. Like the toe cap's not always going to be this shape. That's just kind of a classic sneaker shape that is developed, especially from a lot of the Jordan, like Air Force type designs. But there's also so many new constructions and types of footwear that exist now, so you can also experiment with what those parts look like. And as a designer, it's one of those things where you're constantly exploring new ideas and different ways to construct a shoe, whether it's design, try to construct something a little bit more efficiently than it's been done in the past, creating less parts, multiple parts that are kind of doing the same thing. They're taking over two jobs to be a bit more like efficient in the way that the shoe's made. So many different things that you can explore as a shoe designer to determine what these parts of the shoe actually are and what they look like. And that's one of the things where especially like 3D printed shoes comes into play, and like clogs, like foam clogs, all that kind of stuff, because it's just it's a one piece thing, and there's all these different things you have to keep in mind in the construction of it, and how it's made, and what the materials are, and how it reacts to your foot shape like that. Okay. Oh, this changed a little bit. I'm obviously doing this fast, and I don't expect you to keep up with how my workflow of how quick it is. It's just because I've gotten a lot more used to it, but it's all these basics, same things that I'm doing with my hands. It's just grabbing things and moving them around, or using my pointer finger trigger to create things like this. So I'm going to make this heel piece. And so something I'm going to do here is not only create this, this kind of like heel, or this like ankle band area of the shoe, but to, as I'm designing it, it's not going to just be this one thin, piece of leather that sits here. If we look at the reference image again, there's layers to it. There's multiple parts. There's some thickness to it because of this cushioning. So as you'll see, as I'm trying to visualize it as a wireframe, I'm gonna also, actually I can probably just duplicate this. Yeah. So I'm gonna give it some thickness to visualize how that will look when it has those layers to it, and give some three-dimensionality to like what I'm exploring. So this is kind of just indicating those layers of the materials, the thickness of the foam and the collar and all that. Actually, this comes up a little bit more. Yeah, that'll be the heel right there. That can kind of just fade into here, but those are just indicating the layers of those materials. So now you're starting to get some three-dimensionality to it. It looks, as a wireframe of a sketch, you're seeing how these shapes are going to start forming, where, there's some thickness here. You'll have that edge of this material here and have that thickness to it. Cool. And then we'll go ahead and we'll keep this mirrored for now, just because the collar area is usually pretty symmetrical for the most part. I don't need to spend time cleaning up that much as much. And then I think lastly, yeah, well, actually here, let me do this, make one more copy of this. And then we can use that to indicate like the thickness of the foam and where it relates, where it sits like in relation to the last. Now we're gonna build this, these lines are gonna sit a little bit tighter on here. And even then, I'm not gonna build it exactly to the last because that's not exactly how this last doesn't exactly align with this Air Force or this Jordan shoe that I'm doing. So it'll make it look a little, the shape a little off from what it actually looks like. So, but normally you would, build this as close to the last as possible to show how it'll actually look and how the shoe will be made. But like I said, for the sake of this one, just to make it look like the end result that we want, I'm going to break that rule just a little bit. And then lastly, we have the tongue. So I'm going to build that. And this is where you can start seeing how, like, this isn't necessarily a part of the tongue that you'd be seeing. It'd be tucked under the toe cap piece here. But it's still, it's still a part that exists and has important details to it. So that's still something you have to design. It would be hidden under these layers. And, the only part of the tongue that you're really seeing is the top part where the laces are, covering up anyway, for the most parts. And then this area where the touch point where your hand actually grabbing it. And then drawing this other line just to show the thickness of that. And again, using this orthographic drawing to reference where these points are coming in. This is kind of where, see the top of the tongue here, that's the edge of it. And then this is probably about how thick it is. So that's the wrong line. So I can adjust this to give it the proper like thickness and where that sits. We can just taper these down for the sake of this project. But you can you're starting to see three-dimensional form come out of these just wireframes that exist here. And then the important part, getting the silhouette of the shoe, this like top line. And we can follow the image a little loosely here just to get the proper shape. I'm just gonna get like a general shape on this one just to keep it simple, because there's so many creases and wrinkles, but we don't need to take that into account really much at this phase. So yeah, that kind of just defines it three-dimensionally. And there you have essentially your finished wireframe of the shoe. I know that was kind of a fast run through of it, but essentially, what we did is we took all these orthographic views and translated it to the shoe. So if we look at the shoe from the top view and we reference this, we can start seeing where things align. Like there's ways to snap this too. Yeah. So snap to the plane. You can start referencing the actual shape of it. It's a little off, the scale is off of this, that's why it's not lining up. But you can start doing things like this to align it and, really make adjustments to the shape of it and all that. But you can do that for each layer and angle, and spend a lot more time getting precise on that as well. Let me see if there's anything else I was going to cover. Yeah, so Jeff, if there's anything that anyone has questions on or want to see at this point, I'm not going to do any of the modeling today of the actual surfaces of the parts. And then also if someone wants to join in and give it a shot, and we can kind of do a little bit more hands-on on the actual controls and doing some of these things, just so you have an idea of someone else doing it, and maybe get your own, take your own shot at doing it as well. Are you guys is someone able to get into the room, Jeff?
Is there anyone who has Gravity Sketch? And then Joey, you would be able to just put the the Launchpad link in the chat, right? For them to get in
Yeah, let me
the
do that.
collaboration.
Yeah. Should be able to. Well, I'm gonna stop sharing just for a second, just so I can get this link.
Is there anybody who has their headset on and who has Gravity Sketch and Kate? Kate says she's ready. Oh, she said,
Nice.
oh no, she said she's ready. All right, Kate. So
Cool. Well, I sent the link in the chat, and then whoever's hopping in, just make sure your audio is on so we can hear you, because it's probably gonna have to talk back and forth a bit too to communicate.
So can you, Joey, walk her through how to click the link in the chat, and then it'll come up on her desktop, and then link through the same account in her headset, right?
Yeah, I think if you, well, actually, if you, because I think Kate, you gave me the email that you had before. So you should be able to just get into Gravity Sketch and join the collab room, because it should come up as a room. Oh, there you are. Yep, you're in it. Cool. And Alana, nice. Okay. Oh, you guys are above me. I couldn't see you up there. Awesome. Cool. And then if you guys either want to put your audio on, probably not on the headset, because then only I would be able to hear you. If you want to unmute on the computer, on the Zoom, just so we
Oh,
can
yeah,
have a conversation. Yeah, I think
okay.
cool. Jeff, sorry, what were you saying that you wanted me to show how to do? Or was there anything specific, or just kind of just go through the steps of creating these like wireframes?
Yeah.
Cool.
So,
All right. So if you guys are ready to go, and then so actually, if you want to like navigate it and like zoom in and zoom out, it's the two middle finger triggers on the side of the controller, and you kind of just like pull both those, and you can pinch and move your hands in and out, and that's how you like zoom in and get and move around in the space. Does that make sense? Like these two controllers on your middle fingers, and then you can kind of see how you can move around, rotate. There you go. Lana's got it, I think. Yeah, cool. And so if you want to like pull into this model, I'll hide my own wireframe, and we can kind of like recreate those steps. I'll use a reference so you can kind of see it still.
I had a
Hey.
question.
Yeah.
So when you were doing it, are the lines that you were tracing attached to the picture? Or did you already create those?
No, so all the purple lines that are here, those were, I created those ahead of time. I basically just
Got
did
you.
what I did in the yellow lines. I just preset it up so I could reference it faster, so I didn't have to create it on the spot.
Got you.
But yeah, but from a side view, you can see how the lines will, for the most part, reference the image. So I was referencing it from there, and then also using the last to see how, the shape of it.
hey, Joey, could
yeah.
you cast and then share your screen? Because right now,
Oh, yeah, that's my bad. I forgot I did that.
oh, good.
Yeah. Where's my casting? Oh, I gotta recast it. It doesn't say casting. I'm not sure. Oh, there we go. It was
Yeah.
on the other window. There you go. Sorry about that. Cool. All right. So yeah, if you guys want to like even just try out the basic stuff, I saw Kate messing around with it already with the you can either use the ink tool or the stroke tool. I don't think you guys can see what in my menu in my hand, but if you pull up your left hand, there's the button with the like the paintbrush and the pencil, and just hit that. And then you can either select the ink tool or the stroke tool. I was using the stroke tool. And then once you select that, you can hit the pencil button so the menu hides away. and then you can just start using your right hand with the pointer. Oh wait, make sure. And then you can just start doodling anywhere you want with that. Is it not working, Alana?
I don't know how to get out of this.
Oh yeah, so right now hit the purple button in your hand.
Uh-huh.
Hit it again. There you go.
Okay.
And now with your right hand, you should be able to start doodling in there with the line.
I'm trying to change the color.
Oh yeah, so the color on your left hand, you'll see there's a little
Mhm.
wheel. Just hover your right hand over it, and it should give you options to move your.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. They just changed.
This takes a lot of coordination.
Yeah, it kind of does at the beginning, but it just do these simple things. But once you get these simple things, it like you can just start doing it really, really quickly.
Okay.
Yeah, so there are some like weird. The color, I will say, the color is one of the more awkward things to select. They just changed it recently.
Got you.
And then with your right hand, so now that you have, I can see your pen tool or the stroke selected, you can just start holding the little trigger with your pointer finger, and then start drawing with that. And you can just draw those lines and reference those. And then, so if you want to just draw like that heel piece as an example, just, and also if you notice with the joystick in your right hand, you can make the stroke a size smaller or bigger if you want to adjust that. And yeah, you can go over here and just start drawing it, and it doesn't have to be perfectly accurate, because then I can show you how to edit the control points of it.
Okay.
So Joy, is she automatically coming in with it being mirrored already?
Oh yeah, so it's mirror. Oh no, so it's not. You might have to change your settings on that. If you see in your menu where there's that like right above the word mirror style, if you just click on that, it should mirror it.
Gotcha.
And then
so would I have to redo this one?
Well, no, not necessarily. So you can exit out of that menu by just clicking the menu button again.
Okay.
And then so here, if you want to come over to your part, hover over it so that you're selecting it with the orb in your hand. And then yeah, so when you select it, sorry, it's so hard because it's like you said, the coordination is like it's like 4 buttons at once, but it's simple once you once you've done it. But so you hover over it here, push your middle finger trigger, and then the blue button on your left hand, and you can do it slow. It doesn't have to do it fast, but so just once you're hovering over it and selecting it, it should turn red, like get a red outline.
No. Oh, there we go.
There you go. So now keeping your hand there, X out of the menu.
Yeah.
Hit the blue button so the menu goes away on your left hand. So sorry. So while you're hovering, let me hide the wire. I'm gonna hide everything so you can just see your piece, so it's easier. So what I'm doing is just hovering it, and you can see it's like turning red, or the little thing in my hand's turning red. And then I'm holding the middle finger on my right hand. So now that makes me grab it. But then on my left hand, there's this blue button. And while I'm holding my middle finger on my right hand still, I'm pressing the blue button. And now I have these control points that I can edit. So I know it's like quite a bit of coordination at the beginning, which is why it'd probably be good after this class to like just mess around with it yourself. But if you want to try it again, just like with this little orb in your right hand, just hover. Once it turns red, it'll highlight in red, and then middle finger, and then with the left hand hit the blue. Perfect. And now you can let go, and now you have those points where you can, here, I'll bring back the wireframe so you can,
where'd the wires go? Okay.
Yeah, there we go. So I'm just hiding that on the layer, so now you can go in and adjust the shape as needed. Oh, and then the thing I was going to show you with the mirror. So now you have the mirror setting, but this isn't mirrored. So now that you're in edit mode of this piece, if you hit the purple button in your left hand, at the bottom, like a menu should show up, and at the bottom you can just choose mirrored and turn that on, and then it'll be mirrored.
Got you.
So now you can see it's a mirrored piece,
Mhm.
and you guys can all see that from my view of what I'm showing you. So yeah, I mean, honestly, the shape you made is pretty accurate to the shoe, but that's how you would be able to go in and grab those like black control points and move them around so you can change the shape. And I know that's like a lot just for a lot of like coordination just to do that one thing, but again, you'll get used to it like pretty quickly. And not only that, it's like, that's really the only thing you're doing at this point. It's just that time, by the time you build the whole shoe out, you'll probably get used to it.
Got you.
So that's like, those are really the only tool the only tool and control that I'm using at this point in the process. Yeah, so Kate, that's the same, it's like a same tool but a different way to make it, and that's kind of like in Illustrator where you can create
Totally.
like a stroke based on control points as opposed to just
Okay.
really drawing it. So like in
Okay.
that menu, there's all those different
Yeah.
tools, which it's fine to use either one. Which one you were using is perfectly fine, but sometimes it's easier to do the stroke as just like a
The
free
stroke.
flowing thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
That one. That one.
Yeah, I always forget about this. Yeah, you can just do the yeah, that one's good.
Okay.
And then to hit, yeah, you always just hit the menu to close it.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you can just start going.
Oh. Oh, it's
yeah,
big.
so your the stroke is, you can see on mine how it gets like bigger and smaller like this.
Yeah.
So if you use the joystick on your right hand side to side, it'll get smaller.
Oh.
So you
Okay.
can
Okay. Okay.
control the size of it. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And this is one of those things where I've kind of worked a lot of sitting stationary and working around a model, but it's something you can as you move your head around in the space, you can do it. You don't have to always navigate by how I'm moving around it like this. You can even just sit around it and move your head. And if you're a lot of like car designers will use this, and they'll be standing around in full size scale and building like that. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of the basics of it, and you kind of already got it. And so that's like all you really need to do for wireframing. And I'm going to bring the last back so you can see how you're building around that shape. So you have all these reference points basically to give you essentially what you're looking for. And then once we do the stuff tomorrow, it'll be more a little bit more precision and then modeling the surfaces that it will be, if done right, like printable pieces. So yeah.
Joey, when I draw and I'm like zoomed into the shoe, can you, because I feel like I'm not even near the shoe. You know what I mean? Like I'm drawing.
Small.
Yeah, I see that. So you can kind of like pull yourself in. So like the same way you zoom in and out, you can so with your left hand middle finger trigger, just hold that down and just pull yourself forward. Does that work?
Oh, like that?
You're pulling the model like basically towards you.
Yeah, like this?
Yeah, so like I know it'll get used to how you're in a 3D space as opposed to designing in 2D on a computer, but you can like really move your hands around and see where they are. Like I can follow this line exactly, like follow this line, and you'll kind of get used to where you actually are in space, as opposed to like I feel like I'm drawing on it, but then you turn and it's it's floating
Yeah.
out.
Okay,
So,
I think that's what I was doing.
So you can like literally feel around to see where your hands are in the space, and you'll get a lot more used. It takes a little bit to get used to it, but you'll be able to really have control of like if I want to wrap around this last, I have control of that exact of like really drawing it close to the last, and even like reaching over here and getting it close to the shape of the last.
Okay.
So yeah, well,
Okay,
yeah, I
you're
know
really
we're coming
small.
up.
Am I really small?
You're really small.
I'm really small, babe. Okay,
Yeah.
so I
Oh, yeah.
think because I'm really far from it, I think I'm like, I need a. Oh, okay. Is that better? Is that better?
Yeah.
This is fun to
Right,
watch.
right.
Cool. Awesome.
Oh, okay. So like,
Yeah.
whoa. Okay. Make it smaller.
Yeah.
Mm.
Jeff, I know we're probably coming up on time, so let me know if we need to, if there's anything else you guys wanted to cover. But I think, as you can see, once you start getting in the flow of it and messing with the tools, you'll pick it up and get used to working in that 3D space. But again, like I said, this wireframing stuff is at this point in it, it's you're really just using one tool, so you can get used to that pretty easily.
Whoa.
All right. Juan says he has a question.
I do. Some commentary as well. Being a designer myself and having gone to school for architecture, at a time where they were just really starting to ramp up into CAD and everything, had to learn how to, visualize in 3D, but draw in 2D. And
Yeah.
then finally got to the point where, we could do like mass models, and SketchUp was really big, and Rhino and all sorts of stuff. So, for me, this is like a crazy next evolution of being able to actually design, real life objects in a physical space that's not actually physical, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it is, I mean, because it unlocks just different ways of thinking of how things can go together, how things can exist. My question though, probably more of a later down the line, is how do you then take this? Well, two questions. Do you get to a point where you can take this and kind of like explode it and show the different components like individually?
Yeah, you could. I mean, that's all depend on how you build it. If you build all these parts as separate pieces that you can move apart,
Mhm.
you don't want to mess with the model that you built perfectly and it looks great, right?
Right.
But what you can do, like, if this was I'm gonna turn this wireframe all the way on just so we can see it. So like, and I'm gonna hide that image real quick. So like, let's say this was like fully modeled and I liked it, but I
Mhm.
wanted to do like a exploded view of it. That's something where you can, I'm just using I'm making a really big selection with my like
Yep.
orb in my hand.
Mhm.
And I'm basically I can just make a big copy and paste of it, bring it
Right.
over here. And now, so I still have my model that's clean, but now I can, I
Make
can,
that one.
I can like pull these apart, like here, like pull the tongue up here and
Right.
pull this up here, the soul, pull this down, pull
Gotcha.
this back. Yeah, you can, with like actual model parts, you can see how that would look cooler and show the
Very good.
exploded view of it.
Yeah.
It's a pretty easy thing to do in here as opposed to, maybe other softwares as well.
And
Hey
then
guys.
so when you export out to say like to a warehouse or to the developer, are you sending them like the 2D images, or are you sending it fully in 3D and then they're able to like kind of get measurements and everything they need from that?
Yeah, so I send them the actual
Yes.
3D model. I'll still send them drawings and stuff just because most factories still want that. But
Right.
for like molded parts like the sole, I'll send the 3D. Let me see if I can pull something up really, really quickly. What was it? If I can find it.
Yeah, don't give away any secrets though, Joey. I mean, I don't want to see nothing.
That's what I'm trying to avoid. There's a lot of files in here. Yeah. Well, I'll just pull it in with this maybe. Here's just a pre-built shoe that someone built in here. So like, let's say I'm gonna delete all these. Like I could export this, like just this model.
Mhm.
I could put on a separate layer, hide all the layers, export that, and send that to the factory if the measurements are accurate.
Uh-huh.
But like for that shoe example I used at the beginning of in that quick presentation, when we modeled the sole, we built it exactly to the last.
Mhm.
And so that way we knew it was going to be accurate for the factory to reference. Otherwise, we could send them a more like rough version of it and not as
Mhm.
accurate as the last, but then again, you're not going to get exactly back what you gave them because they're going to have to tailor it to make it manufacturable and wearable.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
This is super dope. I'm super excited about the prospect of other applications, especially in the 3D space and,
Yeah.
rooms and all sorts of other stuff that can really be
Yeah.
explored now.
Yeah, I mean, if you can imagine, like me and Kate and Alana in here are all designers on a team from all over the country or the world, and we can work on a prototype in here like this. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Brittany has a question, and then Joey, you want to after that maybe to explain just kind of homeworks, just some kind of direction for next steps and exploration.
Wait, sorry, I can the audio was kind of jumpy. I didn't pick up all that.
So I said Brittany has one more question, and then I think it might be helpful for you to explain what kind of direction you want folks to go in, or the like homework, or, kind of
Cool.
for folks to explore.
Awesome. Yeah. What was your question, Brittany?
That shoe form that you have, is that like just a CAD? What kind of file is that?
Yeah. So
And-
that's a it's a 3D. Hold on, controller's off. It's just a 3D. I think it's like a .obj file. I think you can bring in STLs or FBS, any kind of like 3D CAD model, and you can import it here. But there's a full in this menu. There's an import folder, and then there's you can go to footwear and footwear last, and then there's a bunch of them. You can literally just click them here as you see that, and I click it again and you'll see it pop up. Well, you can't see it because it's in the way of that last, but it's there now. So it's this gray one. So there's a bunch of files that are pre-built in here for different styles of footwear. But if you have your own last shape that you wanted to use, like the foot form, you can import that just drop it into your landing pad account, and then it'll be in this import in your where it says Joey's workspace, it'll be in your workspace folder. So it's just a 3D CAD file.
Sweet, thanks.
And then yeah, so I guess for next time, yeah, if you guys wanted to, I think it'd be cool to have you guys all do what Kate and Alana are doing right now, is just use these images, and I'll give you all these files so you can reference it, but just get used to the wireframing and working with these sketch tools, and just basically just rebuild what I just made today. It doesn't have to be exact. You can even design if you want, but it might just be simple just to follow the Jordan 1 model and the reference points I gave. Try to do it without because the references are there for you, so it's not like it's cheating or anything like that. It's just to get used to the tools and the motions, and then you'll have like a nice little wireframe that you'll end up with. So yeah, I think that'd be a good idea to just create your own wireframe of basically what you can see there of what I just did, all that in the purple. And I'll give you, like I said, the reference points that you can build around, so it's not a full setup on your part. And I know we kind of might be over time a sec, but I'll show you how to, if you did want to import your own images, on this menu button in the right hand, you would have your own workspace. And so I think these are all just images of this Jordan shoe that I just brought in. So you have basically all the files you imported. You just literally just grab them the same you'd grab any part and just bring them into your space. And then you can make them bigger and smaller or whatever and move them around. So you do the same thing with images as you would importing any 3D model like I did earlier with that shoe.
Joey, you had to do that on the desktop app, or were you able to somehow capture an image in VR and then bring it in that folder?
Yeah, so you can do it on your desktop. You can just, any image you have saved on your computer or whatever, just go to your actually I'll share it on my screen so you can see it. Let me exit out of this real quick. so like this is like my landing pad, right? So you can see all the files are here. Like you literally just drag and drop images and 3D files into here, and they'll pop up in your workspace in here.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So
And
folks who haven't done so already, it would be good for you to download the desktop version and the landing pad, right? Or start an account, of course, and then upload stuff to there.
yeah, you'll definitely need the landing pad, and then the desktop app is a bonus because if you have a Mac, I don't think you can use it. So it's only on PC.
Oh,
But yeah, if you guys try this out and build something out for next week, if there's things you guys can't figure out or just not work, the mirror thing is weird or whatever, just ask me. I'll try to send tips or whatever, or maybe tutorial videos if I can find some. But looks like you guys are already getting the hang of it pretty well.
Had a good teacher, bro.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Joey, could you hear me speaking in the headset?
Oh, I would be able to, but I have my headset muted. Let me now try.
Okay.
Yeah,
No, I was just trying to see how to do the mirror thing again.
Oh
If you
yeah,
could just send something on that, because I didn't know where to go. Thank you.
gotcha. Yeah, but so you got the mirror figured out though?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Gotcha.
Or did it mirror? I didn't think it mirrored on the other side. It did?
Oh, wait, which part are you working on?
The part I accidentally deleted. The
Gotcha.
back swoop thing.
Oh, yeah. So if you select the part like you're going to edit it,
Uh-huh.
and then here, I'll do it over here so you can do it on yours. And then you hit the purple button on the left controller once you have it selected.
Uh-huh.
There's the mirrored thing on this menu. If you can
That's
see
what I
it.
was looking for. Okay.
Yep.
The purple button on the left. I was hitting the blue button.
Yeah.
That's where. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Cool.
Can we still do this like even when like we're not here? Can we still access this one?
Yeah, you should have access to this room. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
And I'll send everyone this file because not everyone can get here at the same time. I'll send the
Got you.
file. You can open this as your own file separately too.
Got you.
And I'll send that over.
Okay.
Quick question, Joey. I'm not real familiar with the VR, but I was in the session, but I was floating above everything. Should I change my floor? Is that it? Or
Are you in there on your headset or on the desktop?
headset, because I have a Mac, so it's not allowing me for the desktop.
Gotcha. So you're in there, but you were just floating above it.
Yeah, I can get back
so-
in. I got out right now because I wanted to ask this question.
Gotcha. Yeah, so if you were just hovering above it, so what you can do is, if you can see like what I'm showing with my hands with these two middle finger triggers, is how you can like kind of grab it. You're kind of like grabbing this, you're pulling yourself into the space. So you can see like I'm super far zoomed out now. But
Yeah, okay.
if I put these triggers, I can like pull them and then pull in and out and zoom in and out. And
Okay,
kind of
perfect.
pull myself into the scene. Yeah.
Oh, nice. All right.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, sweet. Thank you.
all right, everyone. Thank you, Joey. Appreciate you.
Awesome.
Yes, great. I think a lot of people are going to be going back and playing this.
For sure. Nice.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah, I'm about to start geeking.
Start designing your own shoes now.
All sorts of things randomly.
Nice. Yeah, you can design any. Yeah, I know a lot of people that use it for car design, furniture design, whatever type of thing, anything. So
That's
yeah.
all right,
All right.
y'all. Take care.
Appreciate you. Thank you. See you next week.
Thank you
Next-
guys. Appreciate it.
All right. Adios.